Have you ever felt her pulling away, like the connection you once shared is slipping through your fingers? The messages aren't the same, the calls feel forced, and she seems more distant with every passing day. It's confusing, even painful, but here's the truth. Her actions might be saying something she can't put into words. Before you jump to conclusions or make a mistake that pushes her further away, take a deep breath. Today, we're diving into the subtle but powerful signals she's sending and, more importantly, what you need to do to handle this situation with wisdom and clarity. This is not about quick fixes or playing games. It's about understanding her, reflecting on yourself, and finding the strength to respond in a way that strengthens your character and respects her perspective. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to this channel for more insights into relationships, emotional intelligence, and personal growth. Together, we explore what it means to navigate life's challenges with grace, resilience, and purpose. Hit that subscribe button now, and let's get started. Have you ever found yourself wondering what changed? You replay the moments in your mind, the laughter, the connection, the way she used to look at you like you were the most important person in the world. And now, suddenly, it feels like she's pulling away. Her texts have become shorter, her responses less enthusiastic, and the calls you used to look forward to have grown less frequent. Let's face it, this shift can be unsettling. It can feel like you're standing on shaky ground, unsure of what to do next. But here's the truth. When a woman begins to distance herself, it's rarely out of nowhere. Her actions, though subtle, are often a reflection of something deeper, something that needs your attention and understanding. So what do? Do you confront her? Do you give her space? Or do you fall into the trap that many men do, becoming needy, frustrated, or even resentful? Today, I want to help you navigate this situation the right way, not with guesswork or emotional reactions, but with clarity, confidence, and composure. In this video, we're going to take a deep dive into the reasons behind her behavior, how to recognize the signs, and the steps you need to take to respond effectively. We're not here to make assumptions or play the blame game. Instead, we'll focus on understanding her actions, improving yourself, and finding the strength to handle this with wisdom and maturity. But before we dive in, I want to remind you of something important. This channel is dedicated to helping you grow, not just in your relationships, but in every aspect of your life. So if you're ready to become the best version of yourself and learn how to navigate life's challenges with grace and resilience, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Together, we're building a community of thoughtful, self-aware individuals who are committed to personal growth. All right, let's get started. Understanding why she's distancing herself. Now, the first thing we need to address is why this might be happening. When a woman begins to distance herself, it can stem from a variety of reasons. Some are external, stress at work, family issues, or personal struggles that have nothing to do with you. Others are more internal, feelings of dissatisfaction, doubts about the relationship, or even a loss of emotional connection. Here's the key. It's not your job to fix everything, but it is your responsibility to pay attention. Let me say that again. It's your responsibility to pay attention. Often the signs are right in front of you, but we overlook them because we're too caught up in our own emotions or assumptions. For instance, have you noticed her becoming less responsive to your messages? Maybe the enthusiasm she once showed has faded. Does she seem distant during conversations, as though her mind is somewhere else? These are not just random behaviors, they're signals, and your ability to recognize these signals is the first step toward understanding what's really going on. Now, let's talk about what not to do. This is one of the most crucial parts of the conversation because your reaction to her behavior can either create an opening for reconnection or seal the distance between you. Unfortunately, many men fall into the trap of making avoidable mistakes during this phase, and these missteps often make things worse. Let's take a closer look at the most common ones and why they backfire. Overreacting with emotion. The first and most common mistake is overreacting with emotion. This often manifests as panic, anger, or desperation. Picture this. You sense her pulling away, and your instinct is to chase after her, texting incessantly, calling at odd hours, or demanding to know why she's acting differently. Here's the problem. This kind of behavior doesn't communicate love or concern. It screams insecurity. Instead of drawing her closer, it overwhelms her, making her feel like she needs even more distance to breathe. Overreacting with emotion can also lead to heated arguments, where words are spoken in frustration and cannot be taken back. Ask yourself, do you want to respond in a way that strengthens your connection, or are you simply reacting to your fear of losing her? Emotional outbursts rarely lead to the former, becoming clingy or needy. Another common mistake is becoming overly clingy. It's natural to want to hold on to someone when you feel them slipping away, but there's a fine line between showing care and smothering them. Clingy behavior can look like constantly checking in, seeking reassurance, or being overly available. Let me be clear, nobody is attracted to neediness. It signals a lack of self-confidence and makes the other person feel responsible for your emotional well-being, a burden no one wants to carry. The more you cling, the more suffocated she feels, and the more she'll want to distance herself. Instead of relying on her for validation, use this time to focus on yourself. What hobbies, passions, or friendships have you neglected? When you cultivate your independence, you become more attractive, not just to her, but to everyone around you. Playing mind games. Another mistake men often make is trying to play it cool or engaging in mind games. For example, some might think, if she's ignoring me, I'll ignore her too. Let her see what it feels like. This tit-for-tat strategy is not only immature, but also counterproductive. Relationships thrive on trust and communication, not manipulation. When you play games, you're not addressing the root cause of the issue. Instead, you're building a wall of resentment and misunderstanding, and while it might give you a temporary sense of control, it ultimately leads to more distance and less connection. If you truly care about her and the relationship, approach the situation with sincerity, not tactics. Authenticity always wins over manipulation. Assuming the worst. It's easy to jump to conclusions when someone starts acting differently. You might assume she's losing interest, seeing someone else, or no longer values the relationship. While these fears can feel real, they're often unfounded and based on insecurity rather than evidence. When you assume the worst, it affects how you treat her. You might become defensive, accusatory, or overly cautious, which only adds tension to the relationship. Instead of making assumptions, focus on gathering facts. Observe her behavior, reflect on any changes in the relationship dynamic, and, when the time is right, have an honest conversation. Trying to fix everything immediately. As men, we're often conditioned to be problem solvers. When we see something going wrong, our instinct is to fix it, quickly and decisively. But relationships are not mechanical problems. They're emotional connections that require patience and understanding. If she's distancing herself, there's likely a deeper reason behind it, and rushing to fix things can come across as dismissive or superficial. It's important to recognize that some issues can't be resolved overnight. Instead of focusing on immediate solutions, focus on creating a space where she feels comfortable sharing her thoughts and feelings. Ignoring the signs. On the flip side, some men make the mistake of ignoring the signs altogether. They convince themselves that her behavior is just a phase, or that things will magically get better on their own. This avoidance stems from a fear of confrontation and a reluctance to face uncomfortable truths. But here's the reality. Ignoring the signs doesn't make them disappear. In fact, it often allows the situation to worsen. If she's distancing herself, it's a signal that something needs to be addressed. By acknowledging the signs early, you give yourself the opportunity to approach the situation with care and intention. Overanalyzing and overthinking. While self-reflection is important, there's a fine line between analyzing the situation and overthinking it to the point of paralysis. Overthinking often leads to creating imaginary scenarios, doubting every interaction, and questioning your own worth. This mental spiral doesn't help you understand her actions. It just leaves you feeling more confused and insecure. Instead of overthinking, focus on what you do know and take actionable steps. Remember, clarity comes from communication, not from playing out endless scenarios in your mind. Trying to control the outcome. Lastly, one of the most damaging mistakes is trying to control the outcome. You might believe that if you say the right things, act a certain way, or put in extra effort, you can force her to stay or change how she feels. But the truth is, you can't control another person's emotions or decisions. Trying to control the situation only leads to frustration for both of you. Instead, focus on what you can control: your own actions, thoughts, and responses. Approach the situation with grace and acceptance, knowing that no matter the outcome, you'll be okay. The way you respond when a woman distances herself says a lot about your character and emotional maturity. By avoiding these common mistakes, you set the stage for a healthier, more honest interaction. Remember, relationships are built on trust, understanding, and mutual respect, not on fear, control, or manipulation. The right way to respond. So what should you do instead? Let's break it down step by step. Step 1. Reflect on yourself. The first step is to take a step back and reflect. This is not about blaming yourself, but about being honest. Ask yourself, have I been attentive to her needs? Have I created a space where she feels heard and valued? Have I been consistent in my actions and intentions? Sometimes her distance is a mirror reflecting areas where you can grow. And while it's not always about you, self-awareness is the foundation for any healthy relationship. Step 2. Give her space. This might be the hardest part, but it's also the most important. When someone feels overwhelmed, suffocated, or unsure, the last thing they need is pressure. Giving her space shows that you respect her feelings and are confident enough to let her process them in her own time. During this time, resist the urge to check in constantly. Don't interpret her silence as a personal attack. Instead, focus on yourself, your goals, your passions, and your growth. Step 3. Communicate thoughtfully. Once you've given her space, the next step is to open up a thoughtful conversation. This isn't about confrontation, it's about connection. Here's an example of what you might say. I've noticed some distance between us, and I just want to check in. How are you feeling about everything? Is there anything you'd like to talk about? This approach is calm, empathetic, and non-threatening. It invites her to share without feeling pressured. Embracing the outcome. At the end of the day, you can't control how she feels. What you can control is how you respond. If she expresses doubts about the relationship, approach it with acceptance. Remember, endings are not failures. They're opportunities for growth and new beginnings. And if her distance was a temporary phase, your patience and understanding will have strengthened the bond between you. Her actions might feel confusing, even hurtful, but they're also an opportunity for you to grow, not just as a partner, but as a person. By understanding her behavior, responding with wisdom, and focusing on your own growth, you'll not only navigate this situation with grace, but also emerge stronger. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This channel is here to guide you through life's challenges with insights, wisdom, and practical advice. Together, we'll continue to grow and thrive. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.